Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer from English with Jennifer. Subscribe and study with me for confident, effective communication in English. My challenge in this video is to make grammar clear in an interesting and memorable way. I think the lesson will be memorable because you'll get to hear from someone who actually met a member of the British royal family. I hope you'll stick around for the full lesson as we study modal verbs of necessity. In some ways, I'm a typical American. For a few different reasons, many Americans are interested in the British royal family. One reason is because we don't have royalty here in the US. So we romanticize the idea of kings, queens, princes, and princesses. We love fairy tale weddings, for example. Sadly, fairy tale weddings don't always lead to happily ever after in real life, right? In recent news, Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle have decided to step back from their royal duties. Queen Elizabeth, Harry's grandmother, has consented, but she didn't exactly voice enthusiasm over this decision. It raises questions about possibilities, permission, and necessity. We can express those ideas with modal verbs and modal-like verbs. So let's take this opportunity to study a little bit of grammar in the context of the British royal family. I can't do this alone, so I asked for a bit of support. You'll hear from two British English teachers who can share their knowledge about royal etiquette and their personal views of Megxit. That's what the media is calling Prince Harry and Meghan's exit from the royal family. Prince Harry didn't have a choice about being royal upon birth. He had to grow up as a member of the royal family. Luckily, he had the freedom to marry someone outside royalty. He married Meghan Markle, a foreign-born actress. Did you know that the first 6 people in line to the throne must have the monarch's approval in order to get married? That means that Harry needed to ask his grandmother's permission to propose to Meghan. I just used must, had to, and needed to. I have another lesson on all the similarities and differences between those 3 verbs. I'll put the link in the video description. Let me give a shorter explanation here. Must is a modal verb. It expresses strong necessity. Modal verbs are helping verbs, and they don't change form to show agreement or tense. We use must with all subjects, and we don't use will for the future or the ed ending for past tense. Have to and need to also express strong necessity, but they aren't modal verbs in American English. They change forms to agree with the subject, and they change forms to show tense. We use have to and need to a lot more than must in everyday American English. So we can talk about modal verbs and semi-modals. They can express the same ideas, but they have different forms. They follow different grammatical patterns. Modals and semi-modals are a lot easier to understand if you look at degrees, from strong to weak. Right now we'll focus on degrees of necessity. How necessary is something? An heir to the throne must have the monarch's approval to marry. This is a rule. There are no exceptions. Must expresses a strong degree of necessity. Must, have to, and need to are all strong verbs of necessity. When Harry became serious about Meghan, those close to him probably advised him, "You'd better talk to the Queen." Maybe they even reminded him, "Don't propose too early. You're supposed to get the Queen's permission first, remember? Had better is another modal of necessity. It's strong, but it expresses a somewhat lower degree of necessity compared to must. We don't use had better for rules. We use it for strong advice. We use it to express what we think is right or what's best. Be supposed to is a semi-modal. It's strong, but it's less about what is necessary and more about what the expectations are. We often associate wealth and privileges with royalty, but we need to remember there are many rules and expectations. This creates pressure each time the royals step out in society. Members of the royal family should behave a certain way at all times. Royal etiquette says there must be no public displays of affection. This means that married couples like Prince William and his wife Kate aren't supposed to hug and kiss in public. Ladies are supposed to sit a certain way. They must cross their legs at the knee or ankle. Must, as we know, expresses strong necessity. We then have had better, be supposed to, and then the modal verb should. We use should for advice. It's weaker than had better. We use should very often in everyday English. Another modal verb we use for advice and personal obligation is ought to. Very often it sounds like oughta in spoken American English. So it's similar to should, but it's used less frequently. People really ought to learn proper etiquette if they're invited to Buckingham Palace. One should know what to do and what not to do when meeting the Queen. Weaker than advice is a suggestion. We can make suggestions with the modal verbs could, may, and might. You could search online for articles about royal etiquette. You may want to buy a new outfit if you're going to meet the Queen. You might ask people in the UK what they know about royal etiquette. These are not examples of necessary actions. These are just possible ideas that can help. Permission is connected to necessity. An authority can tell you what you may and may not do. We also use the modal verb may for permission. In the affirmative, may states what is allowed. The negative form is very strong. May not expresses what is prohibited. We see a similar change in degree, moving from can in the affirmative to cannot or can't in the negative. A prince or princess may marry someone of a different faith. They may not get married without the monarch's approval. A prince or princess can customize their wedding to some degree. They cannot wear whatever they want. Princes, for example, must wear their military uniforms at their weddings. Note that we use the modal verb could and the negative couldn't for permission and possibilities in the past. Today, members of the royal family can marry people from different religions. In the past, there were more rules about who they could and couldn't marry. We also have a big difference in the degree of strength with the semi-modal have to. In the affirmative, have to is strong. If you have to do something, there is no choice. In the negative, don't have to, there is a choice. So it becomes weaker. Now that Harry and Meghan have decided to step back from their royal duties, they'll be known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They have to give up their royal titles of His Royal Highness and Her Royal Highness. They don't have to live in the UK at all times now. In fact, they can live in Canada half the time. The Queen says that Harry and Meghan have to pay back the public money they used to renovate their cottage in the UK. Quiz time! I asked a truly marvelous member of my channel to answer 3 questions about royal etiquette. I trust his answers because he's an English teacher in the UK. Question 1. I asked, should I address the Queen as Your Majesty or Your Royal Highness? What do you think the answer is? Stunning Lad 1 said, one addresses a female royal as ma'am and a male royal as sir. Okay, question 2. Is there something I should never do in the presence of the Queen? Can you think of anything? Stunning Lad 1 said, when in the presence of the Queen, her subject must never turn their back. Well, that sounds like basic courtesy, right? I also read that if the Queen stands, everyone must stand. And did you know that Prince Philip must walk a few steps behind the Queen? He is her husband, but she is his Queen. Okay, question 3. Can I shake the hand of a royal member of the family? I mean, I know I'm not supposed to high-five them or give them a big hug, but what about shaking their hand? Stunning Lad 1 said, this varies depending on the occasion. The standard rule is that a royal decides whether or not to shake hands. A bow of the head from the men and a curtsy from the women is etiquette reserved for the Queen, but general politeness and respect should be shown to all royals. And on the subject of Prince Harry and Meghan giving up their royal titles and paying back public funds, Stunning Lad 1 wrote, I fully respect Prince Harry and Meghan's decision to step back from their royal duties. Prince Harry is 6th in line to the throne. If it were Prince William who had come to this decision, it would be a catastrophic blow to the future of the monarchy. Prince William is 2nd in line to the throne and will almost certainly be king one day. As William is a future monarch, he has to observe royal protocol. Harry doesn't really have to worry about being king one day, but Prince William needs to prepare for the role because it will almost certainly be his in the future. Okay, so we talked about necessity and degrees of necessity. We looked at modals and semi-modals. These verbs express ideas like necessity, strong advice, expectations, general advice, suggestions, and permission. We noted differences in strength when we switch from affirmative to negative or negative to affirmative. Let's see how well you understand the grammar. I'm also going to test your ability to understand British English. I've invited my good colleague Vicki from Simple English Videos to talk about royal etiquette and the whole Megxit affair. Her response surprised me. I ended up getting a very special story. Listen.
I've no idea. I've never met the Queen, though I have met her husband. In the early 1990s, I wrote a book that won an English-speaking union prize, and the head of the organisation was Prince Philip, so he gave out the prizes. We had to go to Buckingham Palace, and it was suggested that ladies should wear a hat and gloves, which seemed very old-fashioned even back then. But I bought a hat and gloves too, and when I got there, a lot of people weren't wearing the gloves, so I took mine off. We didn't have to bow or curtsy or anything. Someone called my name, I went up, we shook hands. He asked me about my book and gave me an envelope with a cheque in it. So that was very nice. And then a few years later, I won another book prize, so another trip to Buckingham Palace. I don't think Philip remembered me. He didn't say, "Oh, Vicki, nice to see you again," or anything like that. It was the same procedure, except I didn't bother wearing a hat or gloves. I knew they weren't necessary, and a girl's got to move with the times.
How well did you understand? Let me check. Where did Vicki have to go to get her prize? To Buckingham Palace. What was Vicki supposed to wear? Vicki said it was suggested that ladies should wear a hat and gloves, at least the first time. Did Vicki have to bow or curtsy? No, she said she just shook Prince Philip's hand, which I think is an honor.
I don't follow royal family news much, so I don't know the details. But it sounds like a good idea to me. Why should British taxpayers pay to support the royal family? It's hard to justify. And there are other European royal families who ride around on bicycles and work for a living. That sounds more sensible to me.
Did you understand Vicki's response? Let's check. Does she think that the British should financially support the royal family? No. She asked, why should British taxpayers pay to support the royal family? So how do you understand Vicki's position on Megxit? Does she think that Harry and Meghan should have a more independent life? Oh yeah, she thinks it's a good idea. So what do you think about Megxit? Should members of the royal family be allowed to leave their official duties? Should taxpayers continue to support the royal family? Let me know in the comments. We'll end here. Please like and share this video if you found the lesson useful. There's still more to talk about, so I'm sure we'll meet again to study modal verbs. As always, thanks for watching and happy studies.
Thank you to all the super and truly marvelous members of my channel. Thank you also to all my basic members. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and try something new. Download the apps Kiki Time and Hollow. These are more ways I can help you learn English each and every week. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications.